The text from my sister Rachel arrived at 2 a.m. local time, which meant she'd sent it during normal afternoon hours back home. I was sitting in a cafe in Geneva, halfway through a 6-week assignment with the State Department when my phone buzzed. Finally sold that rundown house of yours. Got $340,000. Mom needed a new car and we had some bills, so we took care of that. You can thank me later for handling this while you were off playing diplomat. I stared at the screen, reading the message 3 times to make sure I understood correctly. My house. She'd sold my house. My fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. What are you talking about? I didn't authorize any sale. The response came immediately. You weren't using it. You've been gone for months doing your government work thing. Mom and I figured you wouldn't mind. Besides, you make plenty of money. We needed it more. I called her. She answered on the first ring, her voice bright and cheerful. Hey, did you get my message? Pretty great, right? We got way more than that dump was worth. Rachel, I said, keeping my voice carefully controlled, you can't sell someone else's property. That's illegal. She laughed. It's not someone else's property, it's yours. And we're family. Family helps family. You weren't even living there. I was on assignment, I said. For 6 weeks. That doesn't give you permission to sell my house. Oh, don't be dramatic, she said dismissively. We forged your signature on the papers. The buyers were some young couple very excited. They close next week. Stun Jenna. Just accept it and be happy we're putting the money to good use. You forged my signature? My voice had gone quiet, which anyone who knew me would recognize as dangerous. Just a little signature. No big deal. You would have signed anyway if you'd been here. We saved you the hassle. I took a deep breath. Rachel, what's the address of the property you sold? Your house. The one on Embassy Row. 2247 Massachusetts Avenue. The one you never use because you're always traveling. My blood went cold. You sold 2247 Massachusetts Avenue? Yeah, that's what I said. Are you okay? You sound weird. Rachel, I said very slowly, that's not my house. That's State Department housing. That's protected diplomatic property. Silence on the other end. What do you mean diplomatic property? Rachel's voice had lost some of its confidence. I mean it's owned by the United States government. I live there as part of my housing allowance as a Foreign Service officer. It's not my personal property. It's federal property under diplomatic protection. More silence. But it has your name on the mailbox, Rachel said weakly. Because I live there, I said. That doesn't mean I own it. Rachel, what exactly did you do? I contacted a real estate agent. Told them you wanted to sell. I had copies of your ID from that time I borrowed your driver's license to pick up your prescription. I used that to create a notarized power of attorney. The agent listed it, found buyers, and we signed the contracts. You committed forgery, fraud, and attempted to sell United States government property. I said, each word deliberate. Do you understand how serious this is? It's just a house. It's not just a house. I interrupted, my composure finally cracking. It's property owned by the State Department, located in a protected diplomatic zone, subject to federal jurisdiction and international treaties. You can't sell it. The sale isn't valid. And what you did is multiple federal crimes. Oh my God, Rachel whispered. What do I do? How much money did you spend? Mom's car was $45,000. We paid off her credit cards another $18,000. I bought some furniture, maybe $12,000. We put the rest in savings for. So you spent $75,000 of money you don't have from a sale that isn't legal, I said. Rachel, I need to make some calls. Don't spend another penny. Don't talk to anyone. And pray that the State Department doesn't press charges. I hung up and immediately called my supervisor at the embassy, Sarah Chin. Despite it being 2 a.m., she answered on the second ring. Jenna? What's wrong? My sister just tried to sell my State Department housing, I said. She forged my signature, created fake authorization documents, and has already spent $75,000 of the supposed sale proceeds. She tried to sell diplomatic housing? Sarah's voice went from sleepy to alert instantly. She tried to sell federal property? She didn't know, I said quickly. She thought it was my personal house. She's an idiot, but she wasn't trying to commit treason or anything. She just committed forgery and fraud. Just, Sarah repeated dryly. Hey. Give me all the details. I explained everything while Sarah took notes. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. This is bad, Jenna. This isn't just standard fraud. She attempted to sell property under diplomatic protection. That triggers federal investigation protocols, possibly Secret Service involvement since it's a protected zone. I know, I said miserably. She's my sister. She's stupid and entitled, but she's not malicious. Is there any way to handle this quietly? No, Sarah said firmly. She forged government documents, impersonated a federal employee, and attempted to transfer protected property. This goes way beyond family drama. I have to report it. The legal attaché will be notified by morning. They'll contact you. Someone will visit your sister within 48 hours. What will happen to her? That depends on several factors, Sarah said. How cooperative she is, whether she returns the money, whether the buyers are willing to drop claims without making a fuss. But Jenna? She's looking at federal charges. Possibly 5 to 10 years. I spent the rest of the night awake trying to reach Rachel. She wasn't answering. Mom wasn't answering either, which meant Rachel had told her what she'd done and they were both panicking. By morning Geneva time, I had an email from the State Department's Office of Legal Affairs requesting a formal statement. I spent 3 hours on a video call walking through every detail I knew about Rachel's actions. Your sister uploaded documents to the real estate listing, the attorney informed me. She created a fake power of attorney with a forged notary seal. She represented herself as your legal representative. And she signed closing documents in your name. These are not small crimes, Ms. Torres. I understand, I said. What happens now? The Secret Service will interview her tomorrow. They'll interview the real estate agent, the buyers, and anyone else involved in the transaction. They'll determine whether this was an isolated incident of fraud or part of a larger pattern. It's isolated, I said quickly. Rachel's impulsive and entitled, but she's not a career criminal. She genuinely thought she was helping by selling what she believed was my unused property. Her intentions don't change the law, the attorney said. She forged federal documents and attempted to sell United States government property. We take that very seriously. The call ended with instructions for me to remain available for follow-up questions. I tried calling Rachel again. This time she answered and she was crying. Jenna, there are federal agents at the door. They're saying they need to talk to me about the house sale. What do I do? Let them in, I said. Be completely honest. Tell them everything. Don't lie, don't minimize, don't make excuses. Just tell them exactly what you did and why. I'm scared, she sobbed. You should be, I said not unkindly. You committed serious crimes. But cooperation will help. Tell them the truth, Rachel. She hung up. For the next 6 hours I heard nothing. I tried to focus on my work at the embassy but kept checking my phone every few minutes. Finally a call came through. A known number, US area code. Is this Jenna Torres? A man's voice, professional and stern. Yes. This is Special Agent Marcus Freeman with the Secret Service. I'm calling regarding the attempted sale of your residence at 2247 Massachusetts Avenue. Sir. My sister Rachel had no authority to sell that property. She forged documents. We're aware, Agent Freeman said. We've spent the afternoon interviewing your sister, your mother, the real estate agent, and the prospective buyers. I need to ask you some questions. For the next hour, Agent Freeman walked me through every detail. When did I last speak to Rachel before the sale? Had I ever discussed selling the property? Had I given her any documents that could be construed as authorization? No, I answered firmly. I never discussed selling because it's not my property to sell. I've explained multiple times to my family that I live in State Department housing. Rachel chose not to listen. Your sister claimed she didn't understand the property was government-owned, Agent Freeman said. She didn't understand because she didn't bother to verify, I said. The lease agreement, the housing documentation, the monthly statements, all of it clearly identifies the property as State Department housing. She saw my name on the mailbox and assumed ownership. The real estate agent also failed to verify ownership, Agent Freeman noted. Which is its own problem. But your sister initiated the fraud. She created the fake power of attorney, she forged the notary seal, she signed documents in your name. Yes, I said quietly. She did. The prospective buyers are understandably upset. They've already made arrangements to move, given notice on their current residence, and invested money in inspection and legal fees. We're working with them to resolve this, but it's complicated. I understand. Is Rachel being arrested? That depends on several factors, Agent Freeman said. She's cooperating fully, which helps. She's agreed to return all money immediately, though she'll need to take out loans to cover what she's already spent. The real estate agent is facing separate charges for failing to verify ownership. The buyers may pursue civil claims. What about criminal charges against Rachel? The U.S. Attorney's Office is reviewing the case. Given that this is her first offense, she's cooperating and there's no pattern of similar behavior, they may offer a plea deal. Probation, restitution, community service. But she will have a federal conviction on her record. I closed my eyes. She ruined her life trying to sell my house. She ruined her life trying to sell the United States government's house, Agent Freeman corrected. That's a critical distinction. Over the next week, details emerged slowly. Rachel had indeed been visited by Secret Service agents who'd spent 8 hours interviewing her and reviewing documents. She'd broken down multiple times, admitted everything and signed statements acknowledging her crimes. The real estate agent, a man named David Wu, faced his own charges for negligence and failure to verify ownership. His real estate license was suspended pending investigation. The prospective buyers, a young couple named the Johnsons, were devastated. They'd liquidated savings for the down payment and couldn't afford to start the home buying process over. The State Department ultimately compensated them for their losses to avoid a lawsuit, but the couple sent me several angry emails blaming me for my sister's actions. Mom called eventually, her voice small and ashamed. Jenna, I'm so sorry. I didn't know Rachel was doing something illegal. She told me you'd approved the sale. Mom, you drove away in a $45,000 car bought with money from an unauthorized sale, I said. At no point did you think to verify with me? Rachel said you were too busy with your diplomatic work to be bothered, Mom said weakly. She showed me documents with your signature. I believed her. The documents were forged, I said. And now Rachel's facing federal charges. She might go to prison, Mom. I know, Mom whispered. What can I do? Return the car. Liquidate anything you bought with that money. Cooperate completely with investigators. And pray the U.S. Attorney's Office shows mercy. 3 weeks after the initial text, I returned to Washington, D.C. The first thing I did was visit my State Department housing to make sure it was still secure. The Property Management Office had changed the locks, updated security protocols, and flagged my file to prevent any future unauthorized access attempts. Your sister caused quite a situation, the property manager said. We've had to implement new verification procedures for all diplomatic housing. Multiple departments are now involved in any housing-related transactions. I'm sorry, I said, though it wasn't my fault. Not your responsibility, she assured me. But it's a reminder that even family members can pose security risks. Rachel's case went to federal court 2 months later. I flew home for the hearing. She stood before the judge in a conservative dress, her eyes red from crying, while the prosecutor outlined her crimes: forgery, fraud, attempted theft of government property, and falsifying federal documents. Her attorney argued for leniency. First offense, full cooperation, genuine remorse, no prior criminal history. The judge was not impressed. Miss Torres, you didn't just forge your sister's signature. You created fake federal documents. You attempted to sell United States government property. You fraudulently represented yourself as authorized to act on behalf of a federal employee. These are serious crimes with serious consequences. I know, Your Honor, Rachel said, her voice barely audible. I'm so sorry. I thought it was just her house. I didn't mean. You didn't verify, the judge interrupted. You didn't ask. You assumed. And your assumptions led to multiple felonies. The sentence was harsh but could have been worse. 3 years supervised probation, 500 hours community service, full restitution of all costs incurred by the government and the prospective buyers, approximately $127,000, and a permanent federal conviction on her record. No prison time, but her life was permanently altered. Mom had to sell the car and refinance her house to help Rachel pay the restitution. The furniture Rachel bought was sold at a loss. Rachel lost her job when her employer learned about the federal conviction. She moved back in with Mom, unable to afford her own place. I visited them once before returning to Geneva for my next assignment. "I'm sorry," Rachel said for the 100th time. "I thought I was helping. I thought the house was just sitting empty and you didn't need it." "It was never mine to need," I said. "It's government property. You can't just sell other people's things because you think they don't need them." "I know that now," she said miserably. "I'll be paying for this mistake for the rest of my life." She wasn't wrong. The federal conviction meant difficulty finding employment. The restitution payments would take years. The relationship damage was irreparable. I flew back to Geneva the next day, returning to my diplomatic work. My State Department housing remained secure, my career intact, my professional reputation unblemished. But family dinners would never be the same. Rachel had tried to sell my little house, to buy Mom a car and pay bills. Instead, she'd learned that some houses can't be sold. Some properties are protected by federal law, diplomatic treaties, and government authority. And some mistakes carry consequences that last forever. The Secret Service report sat in federal files, a permanent record of her crime. The court documents detailed every aspect of her fraud. And my State Department housing stood exactly where it always had, on Embassy Row, protected by law, owned by the United States government. Not for sale. Not ever. No matter how many signatures my sister forged.